The estate is mine. You get the rundown mansion. I understand. Following my father's untimely passing, my brother divided the estate at his own discretion. I had things I wanted to say, but it couldn't be helped. After all, I hadn't been able to return from my overseas assignment for several years. During that time, it was my brother who had taken care of our father. Feeling a bit apologetic, I agreed to the estate distribution as my brother suggested. Later, when I went to the mansion I received to sort out our father's belongings, I discovered something unbelievable in the attic. What is this? This discovery led me to sever ties with my brother. My name is John Anderson. I'm 32 years old. I used to work at the major trading company, but I no longer do. Currently, I mainly handle purchasing, and I spend most of my days abroad. I deal with antique furnitures and miscellaneous goods. I discern and purchase luxury furniture sought after by stores and the wealthy. Most of my clients are house builders, but sometimes I take requests from individuals. I'd prefer to avoid dealing with individual customers because they can be troublesome and complicated. However, in today's world where the internet is ubiquitous, I have to meet various demands to make a living. This is true not just for individuals, but for major trading companies as well. Nowadays, we have to diversify our dealings. I want to share the story of my ups and downs and how I achieved success. During my day at the trading company, I was always thinking about starting my own business, but I wondered if that's really feasible. Many people might dream of being a buyer, but it's actually quite a challenging job. One day my boss said, "Next week, one of our regular clients' wife will be in town. Show her around some tourist spots, would you?" Wait, you know what my situation is, right? I really can't do that right now. I had just stumbled upon a Japanese lacquer antique cupboard and instantly fell in love with it. I was in the midst of negotiations. Although it's antique, it doesn't look old-fashioned at all. Its refined presence conveys a noble elegance. Its straight yet smooth form is beautiful and seems like it would fit in any space. The condition is good. This is a great find. Definitely going to sell. It will surely fetch a high price. It's not something you come across often. Definitely a must-buy. But there seems to be a strong rival in the picture, and I'm right in the middle of a price war. In the midst of all this, I can't be bothered to play tour guide for some leisurely lady. This cupboard is top-notch. It's so well made, it could even be sold to the Empire Hotel. Mrs. Johnson would surely be dying to have it. Wow, is it that much of a treasure? Absolutely. No, right now, the lady is more important than the lacquer furniture. I've got an important deal going on here. The success of this deal could depend on your hosting. Please, I'm begging you, do this for me. I'm on my knees. What about my cupboard? Don't worry, it's not yours yet. And so, I gave up on the cupboard that was supposed to be mine and stooped to becoming a tour guide for a lady decked out in jewelry. That's the life of a company employee. Makes me want to start my own business even more. My interest in antiques must come from my dad's DNA. He was into collecting antiques, always gathering things that I couldn't understand. Why do you collect such junk? It's just going to end up as trash. If you have extra money, could you please consider saving for Mike and John's education? Mike, my brother, is 3 years older than me, a real brainy guy. This isn't trash. Look here, see the signature. This artist is famous for not signing his work, but this piece has a signature, and it's hidden as if to keep it secret. It's a one-of-a-kind treasure. I don't know about that. Just clean it up, will you? No matter how passionately he spoke, it was like talking to a brick wall to someone uninterested. My mother never showed any understanding of my father's antique collection, always just complaining. That's understandable, though. To someone uninterested, antiques are just junk, only appreciable by those who understand them. Mike, like our mother, always looked down on Dad's obsession with antiques. I, however, could somewhat appreciate Dad's hobby. At that time, I was into stamp collecting. Seeing stamps with designs I had never seen before made my heart leap, and in each one, I saw a story. I'm sure Dad felt the same way. That's right, John. You understand, don't you? I'll leave you my Greek Revival style house. Dad, carried away by his hobby, bought a Greek Revival style house, which was built in 1840s. That time, he had a huge fight with Mom. How can you just buy a house like this without saying anything? What were you thinking? Now, don't be so angry. Just look at the design here. Isn't it wonderful? It's just craving. No, it's influenced by historic Greek and French Creole home designs. I've had enough. I want a divorce. While they didn't actually divorce, it seemed my mother had given up on my father's hobby. We never lived in that Greek revival-style house. It became my father's office, who was a scholar. My father loved anything he found beautiful, regardless of whether it was Eastern or Western, traditional or modern. From vases to paintings, scrolls, tea bowls, chests of drawers, hairpins, furniture, books, and more, his interests covered a wide range of items. After he started spending more time in the Greek revival-style house, he moved all his antiques there, so our family home was no longer cluttered. My mother was happy, but I felt a bit lonely. Whenever I had the time, I would visit, and he would show me his treasures. Dad, what did you buy this time? John, good timing. I was just looking for someone to talk to. You mean someone to boast to, right? Don't be so harsh. All right, I'll listen. Every time I visited, there was always something new, and each time, I listened to my father's proud stories. To be honest, I wasn't really interested in antiques, but I loved seeing my dad talk about them so happily and affectionately. As I listened to him, I gradually developed an eye for aesthetics and ended up with quite sophisticated tastes compared to others my age. Hey, aren't those shoes a bit too old-fashioned? Don't they have a nice shine? The way the leather wrinkles is just irresistible. I really don't get what you're saying. I mean, how can they not understand the beauty of these leather wrinkles? But then again, I guess there aren't many high school students who be into that sort of thing. I was known as a bit of an eccentric person among my peers. Choosing a career in procurement was undoubtedly influenced by my father. Having a strong desire to become a buyer, I deliberated between a department store and a trading company. Ultimately, I chose the latter for its broader range of opportunities. There are only a few department stores that handle procurement. In that regard, trading companies offer more scope. Still, being a buyer is everyone's dream. I couldn't expect to be in charge of it right after joining the company. The first few years were spent doing general trading company tasks, as mastering the basics is crucial. Through various department experiences, I learned about the flow of business. Anything can be turned into money if it's moved. There's always someone who wants whatever you're selling. Realizing this, I thought that being a buyer was indeed the only path for me. There are many aspiring buyers. To slip through the narrow gate, one must possess not only language skills but also education and knowledge, understanding of culture and customs, different ethnicities, and above all, communication skills. Do you know what skills are necessary for a top trading company employee? Communication skills. Well, that's certainly important, but there's something even more absolutely indispensable. Passion, I guess. It's physical strength. Indeed, working in a trading company can be a test of endurance. If they say I want it, I respond with yes, I understand, and rush to procure what's requested. If it's overseas, I hop on a plane and go there immediately. Purchasing involves a lengthy process. First, I engage in persistent negotiations and close deals. Then, I secure shipping permits and customs clearances before the product finally reaches the client's hands. The entire process must be done speedily, and the goods must be handled with care. You have to be tough to perform your own responsibilities. Beyond physical strength lies mental fortitude. Our work entails handling vast sums of money. Consider the consequences of failure. In an instant, fortunes belonging to nations, corporations, and individuals could vanish. Yet, we must endure this fear, negotiating even slightly better terms with seasoned business people. Without a heart of steel, progress in our profession is impossible. I see. Indeed, the words of a senior with much practical experience are heavy and profound. Physical and mental strength are the basics, and only then do language and negotiation skills come into play. Do you get it? Sort of. Even if it's just sort of. Keep it in mind. But at the foundation of it all is doing it for the customer. We use all our abilities and run around to fulfill someone's earnest wish. How much we can genuinely work for others is what's important. Our job exists to fulfill someone's earnest wish. Working hard at this job might bring me closer to the hero I idolized as a child. My senior's words became my courage and hope. When I finally became in charge of procurement, I shouted with joy, "My life is finally beginning." It may sound exaggerated, but I truly felt that way. After several years of training, I was stationed in a Southeast Asian country. This country is known for its production of high-quality timber, and more importantly, it serves as a hub for antiques from various countries. It's fascinating when extraordinary items that make you wonder, why is this here? Come through. I never know when and what kind of treasures will come in, so I visit multiple stores almost every day. Hey, how's it going? Got anything interesting? John, huh? Nothing that would interest you. That's too bad. Come back around the middle of next week. Something coming in. Maybe yes, maybe not. True to the rumors, people in Southeast Asia are laid back. The hustle and bustle of life in the States seems like a lie compared to the relaxed pace here. But I can afford to be as laid back as them. Hey Anderson, any promising leads? It's tough, actually. You're not on vacation, you know. Go and get it. I might have something by the middle of next week. So, you'll get it. Probably. Listen Anderson, the word probably doesn't exist in my dictionary. Remember that. Yes, sir. While being prodded like this, I continue to hop from place to place. One day, as I got used to this lifestyle, I received a call from my brother. For the past few years, I hadn't even exchanged a chat with him, let alone seen his face. What could it be? I only had a bad feeling. Dad's been hospitalized. What? Come back home immediately. Wait a minute. I just can't leave right now. What? Don't you care about Dad? Of course, I do. I'll find a way to come back. Acting all high and mighty, are you? Even though he's my brother, he's always been unpleasant. After hanging up the phone, I immediately consulted with my senior to arrange for my return. I was granted leave and handed over my work. I packed my bags and was ready to return, but couldn't get a flight ticket. In the end, I arrived home 5 days after my brother's call. Dad had already passed away, and I couldn't be there for his last moments. Dad was always healthy, and I never heard of him being sick. He should have been getting regular health checkups. It was indeed a sudden passing. How was Dad in his final moments? Well, it was like he just fell asleep peacefully. Those words were a relief. I'm glad he didn't suffer. He repeatedly asked when you would return. He probably wanted to see you. You were the only one who truly understood Dad. I've let down my dear father's final wish. What an unfilial son I am. Did he pass away shortly after being hospitalized? No. He was conscious and was able to talk for about a week. What? When did Dad hospitalized? About 10 days ago, I think. What? I couldn't believe my ears. I received call only 5 days ago. What do you mean? You're living in an Asian country, and it's likely you can come back immediately. Plus, I had to prepare his will and other things. If I had known Dad had been hospitalized, I would have come back immediately. And what's this about a will? Why would you prepare it while he was in the hospital? Well, you know, it would be complicated if he passed away without leaving a will. Dad had some assets. I didn't want to fight over the estate with my brother. If there's a will, everything can be settled smoothly. He's got a point. I know someone who cut ties with siblings and relatives after their parents' death because the family and kin couldn't settle peacefully. Certainly, a will is important. However, is it appropriate to start discussing it right after your father is hospitalized and the condition is found to be serious? Are you telling me that you just hastily prepared a will on your own without even contacting me? I knew my brother was a cold-blooded person, but I never thought he would go this far. So, about the estate division. I'll receive the money, and you'll receive the rundown mansion. I'm the eldest, so I will inherit the house. But as you know, there's the federal estate tax, and it's a considerable amount. Including that, I'll take all the money. How much are we talking about? You don't need to know. I'm not asking for it, you know. I'm not struggling for money. Can't you at least tell me how much it was? It's not as much as you think. After paying the taxes, there's hardly anything left. Plus, I've been the one taking care of Dad. I have a family to support, and that costs money. You're single, you don't need the money, right? Indeed, I'm not struggling for money. I don't have a family to support. Still, I wanted to know how much wealth my father had left behind. Is that strange? Dad was fairly well known and even published books, so he must have had a considerable amount of money. Judging by my brother's confidence, it must be a significant amount. I wasn't after the money, but it's sad to be bulldozed over without even a word of discussion. Dad was our father, both his and mine. Even if the outcome was predetermined, I should have been given a chance to talk about it. Most of all, I wish he had contacted me when Dad was hospitalized. I might have been there for his last moments. The ownership of that rundown mansion has been transferred to you, so you don't have to worry about the tax. You can do what you like with it. Okay then. I can do whatever I want with the mansion, right? Correct, it's all yours. What about the antiques? I don't need that junk. You can have it all. Really. Do whatever you want with it. It's yours to deal with. Got it. What I received was the Greek Revival style house, which could be called a palace of my father's hobbies. It was previously inhabited by a British family. When they returned to their homeland, they put it up for sale, and my father bought it. The house, with its pure white balcony and a garden fit for tea parties, straight out of a fantasy, was quite stylish and lovely. However, since my mother's passing, there was no one to maintain it, and it had fallen into disrepair. Dad was indifferent to organization and tidiness. He didn't mind if the floors were dirty. Rather, he actively made the rooms smaller and messier by stacking books and lining up antiques. Dad, you should tidy up a bit. At this rate, these valuable antiques will just look like junk. Don't blame me if Mom thinks they're trash and throws them out. Don't think of these as trash. How sacrilegious. Just tidy up a bit, will you? All right. John, you've become quite nagging. All right is often said by those who don't really understand, a common occurrence in life. Dad was no exception. He understood in words only. My mother, initially vocal about it, eventually gave up. Once she was gone, the situation became unbearable. While I was concerned about Dad and the mansion, I was too busy and enjoying my work to give it much thought. I wonder what state that mansion is in now. Well, I'm going to check on the mansion. I'll be here for a while, so contact me if anything comes up. Don't expect any money from me. I don't need it. Taking the documents, I left my brother without further conversation and headed straight for the mansion. The mansion, which I hadn't seen in years, was visibly neglected, with an atmosphere perfect for a child's dare. The once stylish garden was now overrun with weeds, and the palm trees were dead. Did Dad quietly cherish his antiques alone in such a place? It was typical of him, in a way. Entering, the floor creaked with every step. A cold draft blew through, perhaps from a hole in the wall. Looking up, there were cobwebs in the corners of the ceiling. I wondered if it was leaking. Had my brother really left Dad alone in this place? Brother, you could have cared a little, I muttered to myself, mixing exasperation with sadness. After checking the whole mansion, it seemed a formidable task. Every room was crammed with what appeared to be antiques, and some of it looked like genuine junk. Sorting and clearing it out would take a considerable amount of time. A week's vacation wouldn't be nearly enough to clean it all. For now, I started with weeding the garden, but unfamiliar tasks can be tough. After half a day, my body was screaming in pain, aching all over from muscle soreness. I could manage the weeds, but the trees were another story, so I decided to call a professional. It's a shame, really. It was such a good tree. If it had been properly cared for, it would have provided nice shade. Is there no hope for it? The roots are rotted, I'm afraid. Understood. Please take care of it. I like this palm tree, but if the pro can't save it, it can't be helped. I left the garden care to the gardener and started cleaning the rooms one by one. Now, where should I start? First, the kitchen. Clean up here so that at least I can make some coffee. Dad couldn't cook, but he was a pro at brewing coffee. He was particular about the beans and the equipment, always making delicious coffee. John, coffee is a drink to enjoy the process and the aroma that comes with the effort. How about this grinder? Cool, isn't it? You just wanted to use that mill, didn't you? That's not true. I love coffee. Me too. We have that in common. Our father-son coffee times must have looked like quite the geeky discussion to an outsider. I quickly found the antique coffee mill. Dad's favorite cast iron hand grinder was heavy and time-consuming, but the grinding sound, the feel of the beans being crushed, and above all, the wafting aroma were irresistible. The kitchen seems to be used only for making coffee and had surprisingly few things left, so I quickly tidied it up and rushed out to buy coffee beans. I'll make a special cup of coffee for the gardener for his afternoon break, I thought. Smells great, thank you. By the way, John, are you planning to live in this house? That's a bit difficult. I'm currently working overseas. I see, that's a shame. It's a nice house. It is. Though I feel regretful, my overseas assignment continues for the foreseeable future. I have no intention of returning home just to maintain this house, but I also can't leave it neglected. The house is quite damaged, and living in it would be challenging. I'm thinking of demolishing the house and selling just the land. That might be a good idea. Do you want me to introduce you to a real estate agent? Please do. It's best to leave matters to the local professionals. I decided to sell the land through a real estate agent the gardener referred to me, but it won't be immediate. For now, I'll return to Asia and wrap up my pending task. Then I'll take an extended vacation to deal with the house. A month later, I took a rather long vacation to sort out the mansion. For items that I couldn't tell whether they were antiques or junk, I decided to gather them and have them appraised by an antique dealer. I'll ask a second-hand bookstore to handle the books. I wonder if I can donate the academic ones to a university library. While I was sorting things out, a visitor came. John, it's been a while. Since the funeral, right? Oh, Auntie. It's been a long time. She was my father's sister, a very kind woman who always treated me fondly. Are you going to dispose of this place? Yes, it's a bit too much for me to handle. I'm currently sorting things out. Is there anything you'd like? Not really. I never quite understood your father's hobbies. I see. Even his sister, who shared his blood, couldn't comprehend Dad's interests. How about some antique coffee cups? They seem barely used and are in pretty good condition. That does sound appealing. May I see them? Of course. My aunt wanted some plates in addition to the coffee cups. She also liked a vase from the living room board and took that as well. I said I didn't want anything, but is it all right if I take these? Absolutely. It's totally fine. In fact, I'm relieved that you're taking them. I couldn't sell everything, and disposing of them would cost money. Not just my aunt, but I also let the gardener's dad take whatever he liked. Still, it hardly made a dent in the amount of stuff. Aren't you going to give anything to Mike? Mike isn't interested in these things at all. Plus, it seems this place is in my name. He told me I could do whatever I want with it, so I will. That's true. It's best if someone who appreciates the value takes care of it. I also told my aunt about my plan to demolish the mansion and sell the land. Maybe I should consult my brother about selling the land. He told you to do as you please, right? It's in your name, after all. You're right. Once everything's sorted, I'll start the selling process. If you want anything else, feel free to take it. I will. But I doubt there will be anything. Somehow, I managed to tidy up each room. What remained was the attic. And that was a real hassle. The rooms had some order, and there were walkable spaces, but the attic was lawless. It was a just dump it in here situation. Items whose purchase dates were unknown were covered in dust, crammed everywhere. Am I really supposed to clean this up? I could only sigh. But I had no choice but to get to it. I decided to start with the items closest to me, working through them one by one. About halfway through, glancing around, I noticed a small wooden box hidden behind a cardboard box. An old music box, perhaps. I picked it up and opened the lid to find a peculiarly shaped trinket box. But knowing my father, there had to be a trick to it. Fiddling with it, I realized it was a puzzle box. Inside, there was a letter. What's this? Dad's love letter. When I unfolded it, the letter appeared quite old. It was written with a free expression of deep love. Did Dad really have such writing skills? Or is this even his handwriting? Seeing the signature at the end, I was astonished. It was the name of a world-famous author. What is this? Why is something like this here? If this is genuine, It's museum-worthy. It seemed to be a letter of significant value. In a flurry, I rummaged through the nearby items and found a painting with a familiar style. Isn't this similar to the touch of a painter who's now selling worldwide? Seriously, is this real? Considering the attic's contents, this must be from the late 19th centuries, a time when the painter wasn't yet popular. If this is authentic, is it a hidden treasure? I'm a buyer. I have a bit of confidence in my eye for quality. Most importantly, Dad honed my aesthetic sense. I felt a surge of excitement, accompanied by a nervous sweat. Dad, seriously, you had treasures like these all along. After thoroughly cleaning, I found 3 paintings from that artist. Wait, they might all be replicas. As for the author's letter, I don't know his handwriting, and maybe Dad just fancied himself a literary figure and wrote a love letter. And the paintings, while resembling the famous artist's style, could be by someone who paints similarly. I hastily contacted an acquaintance who is an appraiser. Hello, Mr. Thompson. It's Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Long time no see. Are you back in the States? Yes, actually, my father passed away. What? When? About 2 months ago. My condolences for the loss of your father. Well, I was clearing out Dad's room and found something quite significant. I'll come right over. Mr. Thompson is a treasure appraiser. He and my father got along well, often discussing antiques together. Come to think of it, I had forgotten to inform him about Dad's passing. As I was lost in thought, Mr. Thompson arrived promptly. What exactly did you find? Let's go to the attic. I led Mr. Thompson to the attic and showed him the letter from the supposed literary giant and the paintings that seemed to be by a renowned artist. Mr. Thompson hummed for a while but soon turned to me and said, "These are real. Seriously, we'll need to do a thorough appraisal, but they both seem genuine. Especially this painting. It's probably from before the artist's debut. It's incredibly valuable. A painting like this was just gathering dust here. It was well packed and in good condition. A fantastic find." Mr. Thompson spent some time searching the area, hoping to find other treasures. With my vacation ending, I arranged for the trash disposal and the house demolition, then returned to my overseas assignment. I left the letter and the paintings with Mr. Thompson for appraisal, asking him to contact me with the results. The results came surprisingly fast. Both the literary giant's letter and the emerging artist's paintings were authentic. Mr. Anderson, why not try selling these at Sotheby's auction? They could fetch a good price. While hesitant, I was curious about their value and agreed to the enticing offer. But I kept one painting for myself. It was the most carefully packed and spoke volumes to me. My father must have cherished it. It would be a shame to just let it lie dormant. I decided to add it to my collection. I thought about donating the love letter of a literary giant to a museum, but he wouldn't wish for his love letters to be read by strangers. Keeping it felt odd, but I couldn't just throw it away. It would be a shame to just let it lie dormant. After much deliberation, I decided to auction the letter as well. To my astonishment, they were sold for over $1 million each. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from my brother Mike. "What the hell are you doing? Why are you selling Dad's stuff without asking?" "I'm not doing anything wrong. The mansion is under my name, and you said I could do whatever I wanted with the antiques." "I said you could do what you want with the rundown mansion and the junk. I have rights to the letter and paintings too." Typical of my brother to quibble like this. He essentially wants to say, "Give me the money." "Mike, I heard from Aunt that you inherited about $40 million, right? You got that much and still need more money." "Shut up. I have a family to take care of." "True, I don't have a family, but you know what, Mike? Cleaning and demolishing the house cost quite a bit. I paid the tax, you know, with Dad's money." "Shut up. If you plan to keep it all for yourself, I'll sue. I'll take you to court." I doubt such a lawsuit would have any chance of success. According to my aunt, Mike had failed in investments and was deep in debt. He told his wife the inheritance was only $20 million and used the rest to pay off debts, but it was like a drop in the bucket. Eventually, she found out everything, and now they are on the brink of divorce. That would mean alimony and child support, hence his need for money. The mansion, land, letter, and paintings are officially my property. I have his word that I could do what I liked with the antiques. There's nothing shady about my actions. But his constant demand for money was too much, so I decided to cut off contact with him. Mike, from now on, please communicate through a lawyer. I won't meet or talk to you ever again. I'm sorry, but I can no longer consider you my brother. You want me to die destitute. You still have the house, right? Sell it and make some money. You won't have a place to live. That's not my problem. Wasn't the will made secretly to avoid this kind of ugly dispute? Fed up with my brother, I declared a one-sided disengagement and cut off all ties with him. I split the proceeds from the sale of the letter and the paintings with my aunt. She initially refused, saying, "I don't need it. You should use it. You'll have expenses to deal with, right?" But I insisted. I can hardly ever visit the grave. Could you take it as a fee for visiting on my behalf? I had the money from the land sale, so that was enough for immediate funds. All right, but only while I'm still around. Once you have kids, you'll take over. True to her words, my aunt seems to be saving that money for my future children. I don't have kids, so I'll consider yours my grandkids. Can't wait to be called grandma. Aunt, I don't even have a partner yet. Isn't it a bit early for that? Then hurry up. You don't have your brother or sister-in-law anymore. Got it. But right now, I prefer my work over marriage. I still hadn't given up on my ambitions. 5 years later, I used the proceeds from the land sale to set up my own business and fulfill my dream of independence. The relationship with my former company was still good, and I fully utilized the network I had built. Thanks to that, the business was on track, and we've grown to a 12-person team. As for me, I leave corporate projects to my employees and devote my time to treasure hunting with Mr. Thompson. Boss, can I throw away this junk? Of course not. This plate is from the Louis era, but there's a chip here. That's what gives it character. I find myself having exchanges with the young employees that remind me of the ones I had with my dad, leading to their sighs. A woman watches us with a kind gaze. She must have been important to the painter. From the canvas, a deep, sweet, and gentle love radiates. She has become the guardian deity of our company. What happened to my brother? Well, who knows where he is now? I heard he sold the house and paid off his debts, but no one knows his whereabouts after that. Knowing him, he's probably living quietly somewhere, grumbling to himself. But more importantly, perhaps there's a treasure hidden in your attic too. If you find something, please contact our company. Let's bring valuable items into the light and open a path for them to be loved by many.